The miracle of Brillo's is not that other creatures can live inside the whales. This sort of arrangement is not uncommon. You, the viewing audience, have countless residents inside your own body.
An adult human is composed of approximately 30 trillion cells. An estimated additional 39 trillion microbial cells, bacteria, viruses and fungi live on and in the average person's body. Medical science has long understood the importance of the microorganisms within us and the role they play in good health. Interplanetary travel has elevated this research to the forefront of medicine. Alien atmospheres are a soup of microorganisms that Earth-raised animals have never encountered before. To the globe-hopping human, the radical change of biome is first felt in the gut. Known as planetary dysbiosis, arrival sickness, or simply the drags, all off-world-born humans experience an immobilizing nausea soon after entering the new atmosphere. Even with the year-long acclimation program one undergoes in low orbit, the drags cannot be eliminated. Arrival procedure for all travellers includes a period of convalescence at Mercy Star Hospital. Dysbiosis symptoms last anywhere from 14 days to 6 weeks. The worst documented cases persisted for over a year and required intensive care. Pictured, limnologist and ranger first class Maria Ukichiro. Her 25-day recovery is documented as routine. In a message to Kronos Earth Branch cadets, RFC Ukichiro warns, "The initial headaches are too intense to get up and go to the bathroom. In the beginning, you'll mostly suffer on a bedpan. When food isn't coming up or out, you're forcing down a prescribed diet heavy in probiotics. I do mean forcing. The doctors require you to eat certain amounts every day, no matter how nauseated it makes you. Don't think that the kind nurses will let you skip meals either. Your spoon or their tube, only thing you get to decide. The cuisine here is dominated by fermented and preserved foods. You can blame the past shortage of home refrigeration, state of the grid, whatever. Point is, when you inevitably smell yogurt or sauerkraut later, you'll feel violently ill and want to die. Every off-worlder goes through that, you'll get over it. See you soon, rookies."
The miracle of Brillo whales is their ability to pick and choose their occupants. Our whale will now begin this process of selection. Providing a backdrop for the next chapter is another amazing marine animal whose colourful anatomy can construct whole ecosystems. Our Earth audience will find it a familiar species. It is the reef-building coral. A bikini fish gently picks her way along a mountainous path of calcium carbonate exoskeletons. It's her daily prowl for food, and something tasty has her attention. Plump, bite-sized greebles are entrenched in the nooks below. It'll take her quite a bit of work to pry them out. As the bikini calculates the best approach of attack, her preparations are interrupted. She joins the other fish fleeing for their lives. A higher caste of the food chain steals the scene. It's a spotted barnacle claw. One powerful yank extracts the entire colony hiding below. The host Brillo whale groans with dissatisfaction. This isn't a meal fit for a leviathan. They will continue browsing for something more substantial. whale watches the drama unfold from a safe distance, somewhat perplexed. In the 6 years since we last rejoined him, the Great Reef has not run short of new surprises. From near and far one can hear the calls of unknown Brillos bounding off these cavernous walls. At least he still has someone familiar to rely on. His adoptive mother is usually out of sight, but never too far away. She has changed quite a great deal since we last saw her. Perhaps in response to the Penumbra shark attack, she has undergone a zealous application of eye spots to her figure. While not as outwardly apparent, our young whale's body has undergone an even more radical change. His skin layers and immune system have fully developed and are ready to host other species. This dermatological puberty is the crossroad. He must decide what sort of Brillo he will become. How does a young whale make such a crucial decision? The choices are overwhelming, the combinations are infinite, and mistakes are fatal. One way to ensure future success is to replicate past success. Brillo youths find a welcoming adult and attempt to fashion themselves in their likeness. The older whale assists with offerings of seeds, eggs, larvae, and other materials needed to begin the garden. The younger whale remains close for the years after, learning new behavior from the adult. Not every option available to a young whale is desirable. This old-timer is welcoming, but our whale is visibly uncomfortable. It isn't hard to imagine why, but on the other hand, another young Brillo might happily accept this body plan. What shapes such individual preference? Realistically, there are far too many influences to chart, but from our limited data, there is one factor that stands out. We estimate that half of Brillos choose to replicate their own mothers. Our whale displays this preference towards his biological mother. These ribbon plants are the same variety she once wore. Our calf returns here every day. But it is no use. This Brillo whale is deceased. Nothing but a cleaned skeleton remains beneath the foliage.
Almost nothing. Our optics technician noticed a strange blip while alternating camera modes. Zooming in and switching to infrared, show an ordinary thermal image. As expected, the plants are close to the ambient ocean temperature. But after several seconds, the intermittent blinking resumes. This is an older model IR strobe, typically worn attached to the helmet or vest for identification in emergency situations. Upon retrieving the device and referencing the serial number, we can confirm this deceased whale was the first Brillo ever encountered by humans. The story dates back to the early days of Outpost Zeta's construction. A fishing boat captain ignored an ominous weather forecast and went to sea collecting crab traps. Conditions deteriorated faster than his optimistic assumptions. The boat was smashed by a wave while returning to harbour. In the aftermath, 2 deckhands were found missing. Lodestar 1, a heavy aerial command ship able to withstand the violent winds, took off from Vajrapani Airport to begin the search. Scanning the roiling wave below, aided by GPS tracker and IR beacons, the 2 shipmates were located. They were together and clinging for their lives to some unidentified debris. The airplane circled in the turbulent sky above, tracking the men until a rescue helicopter could arrive. After further storm-related delays, RRH 307 Kingfisher launched, flying low to keep beneath the still formidable clouds. The following are archive recordings from that day.
Kingfisher.
Go.
307 Kingfisher, we've updated your arrival coordinates. Confirm you've received.
Solid copy, Lodestar. Received. Briefing said our guys were hiding in a cave. Is there a PIW?
Negative. Survivors are inside some kind of raft. It's the raft that's now moving.
Roger. Okay, got eyes on it now. Visual on the survivor, Captain.
Altitude. Altitude.
I see him. Gonna bring it close as I can. Our guy won't be swimming far with these waves.
Altitude. Altitude.
Copy that. Almost directly over him. Forward 15 feet. Hold. Holding. Rescue diver's checklist complete. Sending him down. He's in. Video link is live.
Heads up, Kingfisher. A couple big waves are headed your way. About 20 seconds.
Copy. I think he'll make it to the raft before the swell hits.
10 seconds.
Almost seems like the raft is moving towards him. What the fuck?
Kingfisher? What's your status, Kingfisher? Respond.
Yeah, everyone's all alive for now. If it was gonna eat him, it would have done it already, right? Let's get them in the chopper before we find out. There's another one. Great. Lodestar, any thoughts?
Felix, I don't think there's any protocol for this in the handbook.
Cap, hold steady for a moment. I think they're coming to us. Hey, can we keep him, Dad? If you want to see Monster, then you'll have to feed and walk it yourself. Oh, shucks, you think I'm not old enough to care for a pet? Diver's headed back down. Second rescue in progress.
307 Kingfisher. Lodestar is peeling off. Good work down there.
Much obliged, Lodestar. We'll include you in the highlight reel.
Thanks. Hey, and CC that footage to the bio nerds too. I bet they flip.
The bio-nerds, here referring to scientists of Station Zeta Laboratories, soon received copies of this material. They did indeed flip.
While it is interesting that the garden can partially survive on, none of it can be transferred without the living adult to help. Our whale must find comfort in the familiar scent and touch. However, time spent on what he cannot have is time wasted. Waiting too long to start a garden could bring other health complications. He will have to move on. Our whale goes on a search for another plant-based Brillo. For reasons unknown, such Brillos are conspicuously absent this season. It seems as if anything resembling his mother has migrated elsewhere. One single exception is discovered. And he is a spectacular example of aquatic foliage. The shaggy coat is as full and beautiful as the late mother's. But not all Brillos are welcoming. Day after day, he tries to draw the adult into play, and day after day receives the cold shoulder. The adult flatly refuses to acknowledge his existence. This male has tunnel vision on the single purpose of mating. Babysitting is not on the agenda. We watch an attempt to woo a female fail pitifully. She is clearly put off by his little sidekick, tugging roughly on his leaves. Days of pent-up agitation are suddenly unloaded. Our whale is chased off at the point of a skewer. It may feel like a painful sacrifice, but a plant body is not an option. There's a dizzying amount of other choices remaining, and one of them will have to do. Another morning dawns. The nocturnal animals have returned to slumber, and the frantic energy of diurnal animals resumes. For our researchers, every day following the whale is a journey into an uncharted wilderness. Only a small fraction of the species here have been recorded. And there is so much inexplicable behavior to document. Recent discoveries have centered on the varieties of coral present. The reef itself is now understood to be a multi-layered structure.
The Great Southern Reef is a fringing reef. The inhabitants can be categorized into 3 zones based on depth. The unique character of the Southern Reef is owed to the spire coral, which lives across all 3 of these zones. Spire coral can survive at the lowest depths, where it faces little competition. Once fixed to solid ground, spire coral stack atop one another, upwards towards the sunlight that will fuel more productive respiration. Shallow water corals soon find these raised platform and perch themselves upon it. This is not a cooperative relationship. The spire coral is eventually smothered and dies. Under accumulated weight, the structural integrity is lost, and the spire shatters. Collapse back down to lower depths. Living spire coral can again re-emerge, and the cycle repeats unendingly. This constant tossing and turning creates a porous and dynamic landscape, veined with small tunnels and dotted with caves. Thousands of small animals make this subterranean environment their niche. For example, saltwater tadpoles spend their early life stages hidden underground, until they can emerge above as a fearsome predator. Relative to their size, that is.
Progress and knowledge march forward through tireless work, but we often share in our young whale's bewilderment. Who is this? What is on his head? What is going on? We do not know. Our whale runs away, and we simply follow. One afternoon, it seems our young whale's persistent searching has been rewarded. A loud song heralds him from the distance. A Brillo hunting party returns. Their high spirits means that all had a good kill. The group's leader is calling to our whale. Our youth remains in place but allows the adult to approach. These whales are sophisticated pack hunters. The Chapitre, a stupid but friendly shark, totally accepts the Brillos as their own. Compared to the painful transmogrification other Brillos endure, this silky costume is minimally invasive and provides maximum returns. And it's a plant. This successful symbiosis strategy is limited only by the pack's willingness to share it with others. An open invitation from the leader is a golden opportunity. Something isn't right. Our whale is fixated on the Chapitre. It is a tragedy that our whale seems unable to tolerate sharks of any kind. He flees. Over the weeks, we observe our subject whale becoming increasingly distressed. It is critical he suppress unpleasant feelings and adopt a symbiosis plan. A Brillo whale cannot survive unplanted. He can perceive himself failing to integrate, of course, but the building internal agitation is not a force that will help him adapt better. Autumn draws to a close. Several new varieties of Brillo begin to arrive from colder latitudes. These are mostly hunter archetypes who can live a life less dependent on the reef's concentrated bounty. A camouflaged whale waits for prey to swim near.
Active camouflage, or adaptive camouflage, refers to skin coloration that can rapidly shift to match a changing environment. These octopus have linked their tentacle nerve endings together, allowing them to network visual information between all bodies. Colour change is omnidirectional, instant, and accurate. The swiftness and precision of these changes exceeds any Earth octopus ability. They are not the only example of animals here possessing very advanced skin chromatophores. Researchers hope to understand why they have evolved in more sophisticated fashion than their Earth counterparts. While this documentary is restricted to its limited mandate, we believe in good faith that the following question is unavoidable and must now be answered. Why would a species on another planet have an Earth counterpart? Convergent evolution was the obvious first hypothesis. This is the phenomenon where different species can evolve similar features when faced with the same evolutionary pressure. For example, we can find similarities in the wings of unrelated flying vertebrates. Similar problems craft similar solutions. While this obviously still holds true, it is not the answer to our question. This lizard looks like an Earth chameleon. This whale looks like an Earth whale, because they share a recent common ancestor with Earth animals. The true answer is directed panspermia. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it, so Aristotle advised us. In that high-minded spirit, we can look back at Francis Crick as one of biology's fearless thinkers. He is best known for his work with James Watson, uncovering the structure of DNA more than a century ago. This earned them and Maurice Wilkins the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1962. He was also uncomfortably acknowledged by 20th century colleagues as a proponent of directed panspermia, that a deliberate extraterrestrial origin to life on Earth should be taken into serious consideration. While Crick's hypothesis fails to match our current best understanding, his unorthodox thinking landed him closer to the truth than any of his contemporaries could have believed.
Francis, do you think we were lucky to have solved it? Or was it real brainwork?
Well, I guess we were certainly lucky, and of course you give the impression we didn't really do too much thinking, but we were lucky, I think, for two reasons. We were thinking about the problem at the right time, and then the two of us, by collaborating, when one of us got on the wrong track, the other one could get us out of it. But if I thought there were three chains at one stage, you were sure there were two. If you thought that the phosphates had to be in the middle, then I would be the devil's advocate and say put them on the outside. And I think this is very important in solving structures of this kind, because the difficulty is that you've got to give several logical steps, one after the other. If you go wrong, you get one person gets too fond of their own ideas. I think another thing which helped us in our collaboration was we weren't at least afraid of being very candid to each other, to the point of being rude. And if you don't have constant interchange of chatting together and saying what you think of the other people's ideas to their face, I don't think you can solve problems of this kind.
Life on Earth originated on Earth. Abiogenesis took place in deep-sea hydrothermal vents approximately 3.7 billion years ago. Recent history has revealed that 3 other planets also sustain life. Aria, Goz and Earth 2 are affectionately referred to as sister planets of Earth due to their similarities, but it may be more accurate to call them Earth children. They were barren until intentionally planted from Earth's highly evolved genetic stock. Isolated across light years of space, the forces of evolution then wrought divergent results. Along a different but always familiar timeline, all 3 bloomed into wonderful new cradles of complex life. This brief summary does not do justice to the incomprehensibly convoluted and ongoing work of planetary curation. But suffice to say, even the professionals struggle to grasp a simplified understanding.
This kind of strategy requires a good deal of patience. Our whale, sensing the hunter, swims wide. The camo whale politely hails him. Other Brillo whales aren't the target of his trap. Our whale replies with mistrust and leaves. Something is wrong. Our whale's once irrepressible curiosity has grown increasingly muted. Even wonders like bioluminescence provokes no reaction. These lamplighter fish are practicing their jousting in preparation for the annual mating competition. The event is soon. It's only a one-night affair, and they will all die immediately afterwards. We think it would be quite the enriching spectacle. But the fish seem to be of no interest. Our research objectives all involve how a planted Brillo changes gene expression throughout its life. An unplanted whale is no use to us. There is a fear that our biometric implants have been invested on a losing whale. But before we can discuss contingency plans, our Brillo finally begins to break bad habits. This unknown youth has snagged a lamplighter and presents it now to our whale. Perhaps he was enthused to share his catch and our whale happened to be closest. Brillo interactions can be opaque, but these two have clearly hit it off. For once, our whale does not withdraw. He is proactively engaging instead of passively responding. It's a much welcome scene, but it begs the question, what changed? What external factors could have contributed to a more outgoing posture? Did our cameras miss a life-changing event? Does this stranger seem less threatening than all the others? It is true that our whale, having been born outside the herd, has consistently lacked peer contact his own age. Young Brillos cannot transmit garden organisms between each other, so the interaction here probably feels less fraught than it might with an adult, who could permanently dose him with life-altering symbiosis. We hypothesize that juvenile Brillo association is a necessary prior step to adult interaction. Regardless of how correct this assertion is, it successfully buys our study additional time. The two whales spend the rest of the day playing and are still chasing fish together when we leave them. Night falls. But our whale is not asleep. GPS coordinates show he's swimming somewhere. As his aberrant behavior is still under scrutiny, the team moves to investigate. A spotlight is aimed overboard. We discover more than just our whale. He is travelling with a pod of other youths. They all sing with curiosity at the sudden lights shining from above. We cut the power to avoid further disturbance. It's soon clear where the Brillos are headed. The first glimmers of action appear in the near distance. The night of the lamplighter fish has begun. The ocean starts to flash brilliantly as males battle for the attention of females. The weak are pierced open, spilling bioluminescence into the water. They shine with complete indifference to predators attacking. Known as predator satiation, there are simply too many to all be eaten. His belly full of glowing fish bits, our whale watches the show reach its climax. It seems like he'll be up all night with the others. Confident in his safety, we recall our camera drones to finish their scheduled recharge. By blocking wave activity, the barrier reef creates a wide lagoon behind it. The placid water stretches for several kilometers before being overtaken by a mangrove forest. Parts are so shallow that they become exposed to air at low tide. At high tide, other areas are deep enough for a troublesome young whale to get lost in. His friends weren't adventurous enough to follow him today. And for good reason, as our whale realizes once the water level starts to drop again. There's no time to play with the locals. The outgoing seawater feeds to several deep channels. Whisked through the trenches, our whale rides the rip current to safety, with no control over where it's taking him. After a lengthy ride, he is spat out far from where he began. This is the end of the Great Reef. It's exposed and dangerous territory, but our whale can't help himself from having a look around. There's a sudden realization that he's being watched. Something is stirring within the cave behind him. It's another Brillo whale. Our whale approaches, but there is no friendly greeting. This isolated loner is an exile from the herd. Banishment is reserved for excessive violence against fellow Brillos. Most likely it was a mating joust that escalated to fatal combat. A deteriorated mental state from years of isolation is what has made him truly dangerous. Our Brillo can understand that a noiseless approach signals an attack. He whistles another greeting. It's met with an oppressive silence. The crown of a shark's jaw attests to this whale's staggering strength. But his secret weapon lies inside the crow's nest atop his hardened armor. The Vorpix octopus wakes when it senses a kill is imminent. He serves the role of a hunting partner who swims in advance. Usually it latches over the eyes of prey and attacks with its serrated beak. But when prey is so pitifully weak, he prefers to spectate. Our whale is far from being scared. He's experiencing a whole other emotion. He knows. This was unexpected. Abandoning caution, the calf sings and plays like he's found a new friend. He goes in for a nuzzle and the harsh exterior cracks. How long has it been since the old-timer experienced any warmth of companionship? Maybe having a little apprentice killer won't be so bad. He grunts, struggling to remember a song that isn't also a threat. This isn't the scene of bloodshed that the octopus wanted. It seems he's witnessed this cycle once before, as he knows what must be done.
This animal is negligibly senescent, meaning it expresses no evidence of biological aging. It's one of the only long-lived cephalopods that has not been culled. Our researchers suspect this octopus to be at least 4 centuries old, and cephalopods who survive so long possess a devious intelligence.
The Vorpix presents our whale with a living piece of the armor plating. A quick feel for the soft spot. And the deed is done. When the young whale wakes up, the implant will already have sprouted roots to hold firmly fixed in his skin. With this major milestone now documented, the mobile lab departs and will not rejoin the whale again until his adulthood. Implants will continue to transmit information about his physical development for a 20-year remote observation period. This also ends the documentary team's access to the whale and concludes the first phase of our project. For us, raw data is far less compelling than first-hand observation of his body being reconstructed. 20 years is a long time for impatient humans to wait. When we do meet our whale again, it is hard to guess now what we might find. All the changes he experiences over 2 decades will be witnessed in a single moment. It should be nothing short of a complete metamorphosis.
This concludes South Scrimshaw Part 1. Please keep designated channels open for the transmission of Part 2.